I hope every car manufacturer will include something like that, because I really believe that if people see the fuel economy that they're getting, they're more conscious of that, and they're more likely to drive with fuel economy in mind. The other thing that we can do as fleet managers is maintain our vehicles in good condition. Poorly maintained vehicles aren't going to perform well, probably aren't going to get good fuel economy. And then monitor through fuel management and fuel purchase monitoring, the fuel that we are using in our fleets. We may find some advantages there, even if it's only reporting to our departments in our private businesses or in our government businesses how much fuel they're using. Because they're in the county, we just provide it to those county departments. They pay for it. But we make sure they've got all that they want to buy. And maybe if the department managers knew how much they were using, they'd be more interested in reducing that fuel consumption. How? Well, however they want to manage that. One of the ways that they could manage it is my last idea here is GPS systems to monitor vehicle usage. Expensive. I think some folks have maybe shown some cost savings and some fuel efficiency or vehicle efficiency gains with GPS systems. So far, the County of Sacramento hasn't installed any of those systems on our vehicles yet. This is my contact information. I originally intended to keep this presentation brief, about 20 or 25 minutes, but since Lisa hasn't come, I took a little bit more time. So I guess we'll open it up to questions from either myself or Kathy. Yes. Liquid natural gas collection trucks. It's roughly $30,000 incremental cost for a liquid natural gas vehicle. Will that be coming down? That's my own question. When 2010 compliant diesels come out, possibly. It could be possibly coming down because more OEMs are going to be offering natural gas, and because the price of the diesel engine, in my opinion, is going to increase once they add the NOx reduction or SCR systems. Next question, gasoline today. I mean, don't dare let any gasoline vapor escape. Well, it is not uncommon for a lot of folks to vent natural gas, particularly liquid natural gas, to the atmosphere. And as a fleet manager, one thing I emphasize with my staff, our vendors who supply our fuel, everything is not to vent. If you have the right kind of station equipment, you can fill your station without having to vent. Wish you were there for my presentation the other day. If we have to do service on a liquid natural gas tank, we will go to the trouble to recover the fuel from the tank back into the station as opposed to vent it to the atmosphere. Or even when we fill our vehicle tanks on a daily basis, vent those back into the station if they have to be, but typically they don't have to be if your tanks are well maintained and your station's working correctly. And the emphasis of never venting methane into the atmosphere is it's 22 times more potent than the CO2 with respect to being a greenhouse gas or its global warming potential. So from my point of view, I emphasize with my staff all the time, we adjust our equipment to minimize, to eliminate any venting that's necessary, because this fuel cannot be successful in the future if it's not handled properly. 6 months or 6 years, you won't lose any of that gas, and you go out there to start it, it'll start up and run. Liquid natural gas is natural gas that's being cooled so cold that it condenses out as a liquid. And that's the reason it's normally at minus 200 degrees Fahrenheit or even colder. And because because it is so cold, it has what I call a shelf life. Once it gains heat, if you don't use it, you're going to lose it to the atmosphere because most of the safety valves on the tanks will vent at 230 degrees. 230 pounds per square inch of pressure. So hopefully that answers those questions. We've done a couple of, I actually say 3, but we already surplused or sold out one of our D9 tractors at the landfill. But most repowers we do are in construction equipment. Typically, we don't do many repowers of over-the-road trucks. With respect to retrofitting, we're doing lots of retrofitting on over-the-road trucks because we're subject to the fleet rule, but not meeting those regulations by repowering, primarily by replacing and buying newer trucks with cleaner engines.
It's a complete disaster right now. It's done as anybody can make their case to buy, to put funds aside, and given the current fiscal conditions, it's even more subject to whether or not you happen to have any money in your particular budget or not. But that's one of the reasons why we're currently using or hiring a consultant to come in and look at the options of changing our procurement process in total from purchasing to leasing. And does that help? You know, James talked about all the different types of fuels, and we've seen lots and lots of legislation dictating that we buy particular types of vehicles. And I find that very problematic, that we need to make sure that we are more flexible as technology changes and are ready to move in whatever direction we're going. And it'd be nice if we could pick whatever that silver bullet is and be way ahead of the curve, but that's highly unlikely. So be prepared, diversify, and be more responsive. I had a comment on that. Actually, just another show of how we're trying to partner with our agencies. We had a lot of departments that were not able to get their purchasing requests and documents and plans into us in time. And by the time we had, Procurement had released the schedule for being able to buy any of the Toyota Priuses this year, the ability to purchase, so the contract was only available from January 9th to January 30th. And we found out, I didn't even find out that it was such a short window until I think January 28th. And so I quickly had staff call, survey all of the agencies. Look, normally we haven't been buying a lot of the Priuses because they weren't EPAC compliant. And we decided that we had enough EPAC credits that maybe this was an opportunity to use them more appropriately and effectively to give the state a boost on where we are with our alternative fuel and vehicles. So we purchased 50 Toyota Priuses because we found enough interest out there that most of those we will be making available for resale at cost. So no additional cost to the departments. We just wanted to make sure that the state as a whole had the opportunity to take advantage of that. Let's see. In looking back to your question, changing our procurement methodology, it's not only an advantage to the state, it's an advantage to the local municipalities because they are able to use our contracts if they want to. And while our contract process has been sort of overly burdensome, we're trying to make it better and more available for local jurisdictions to take advantage of those. And especially having been sitting in on some of the AB 118 meetings where there's funding available, hybrid incentive funding and other things, to the extent that we can improve our procurement process and open it up to allow local jurisdictions the ability to leverage our contracts to their advantage. It's good for the state as a whole. One of the things, I think local jurisdictions are much better able to take advantage of CNG and some of the other, even electric vehicles at this time. Some of the UCs and CSUs are able to use electric vehicles because where they operate is a confined space. For the statewide fleet, that doesn't work quite as well because, well, I don't know, I've sent staff out to pick up stranded CNG vehicles and it's not much fun. So we need to be looking at other options. Any other questions?